I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air.
Evening, folks. I wasn't expecting to have anyone jump in so quickly, but I appreciate that. I just wanted to do a quick stream to, what have I got? I don't have anything up yet. To thank y'all for the well wishes and all that kind of stuff, and for showing the concern for my health, and it meant a lot to me. And I just thought I should get on here and tell y'all what's been going on. Why have I been gone for so long? Well, let me find... I had something up here a minute ago, and I must have closed it by accident. Now I get this nerve issue. I keep hitting the middle mouse button, and for some reason it closes my windows. Let me find out what I was doing here. Yeah, I've got a lot of you, very quickly, I put up, I basically re-edited an old podcast episode where I was talking to the guy about what happened to him in Alaska, the 2 Bigfoots. And at the end, there was about a half an hour where we had talked about Dyatlov Pass incident. And I don't know, I figured, well, probably most people didn't listen that long. I mean, some did, like a couple that I mentioned in the video that were commenting there towards the end. So I basically edited that down to just the Dyatlov Pass thing, and I put it up today. And I was quite shocked at how many of you jumped in there. I mean, within, I don't know, a half an hour of me posting that, I started seeing a lot of views show up. So I figured nobody would even be paying attention to my channel anymore. I've been gone for so long. But I see I'm looking at your comments. A lot of you are saying you're glad that I'm back and that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd jump on here and let y'all know what's been going on. So, and then, if y'all have any questions, that's what I wanted to look at. Just remembered. The comments. Sergey Slav, hi. Hi, Sergey. Where am I from? I'm from Boston originally. Right now I'm living in Alabama. I'm pointing down because that's where it used to be for me. Now I guess it's just here. So I don't know how many of you are subscribers and have been listening to my other shows and that, or not. So if you have, you can ask questions in the chat and I'll answer the questions. And if you haven't, you might not even be interested in what I have to say, but the people who will watch it tomorrow and that kind of thing will be. So what's happened is, maybe some of you do, some of you don't know that back in November, I got hit with a pretty bad multiple sclerosis episode, which put me in the hospital for 2 months. And basically about a 6-inch spot right between my shoulder blades on my spine. The sheath on my spine got eaten away, because that's what happens. It's, your body eats away at the myelin sheath in your spine and in your brain. So about a 6-inch spot in my spine got eaten away, and it basically wiped out my ability to walk. So I was in the hospital, and so for Thanksgiving I was in a bed, and I actually needed a nurse to help me roll over in the bed. That's how bad it was. They told me that they I guess they can't really tell you yes or no, but they told me not to be prepared that I may never walk again. So I did, but I was determined to get through it, get over it. And I got to thinking about, once they told me everything and what was going on with me, I could put into perspective some of the health things that have been going on with me over the years, because evidently I've had this since I was in my 20s and I didn't know it, and it had been misdiagnosed several times by doctors. So I keep kicking the camera stand, sorry. I had when I was in the Army, I was very healthy, and the way that I ate, I never ate a lot of sugar, and I against all advice, ate a lot of fat and a lot of protein and almost no carbohydrates pretty much my whole life. Every now and then I'd splurge on carbohydrates. It was almost like a craving now and then. I'd have some carbs and then I wouldn't for a long time. Well, it turns out that was actually part of what kept me healthy for so long, and why I went so long without having a major attack I lost a bunch of viewers. Sorry. Without having a major attack, because of the diet, the exercise, you know, I used to run up to 10 miles a day when I was in the Army. And that kind of thing was keeping it at bay. Well, when I got out of the Army, I got a desk job working at a computer when I was running the internet company. And so my health started well, I gained a lot of weight. Well, then, you know, in the mid 2008, I started getting healthy again. I was doing a lot of supplements, lifting weights, and I was actually going to become a personal trainer. And oh, I should have got that picture out. I don't know. It might be on one of my other. In the summer of 2006, I weighed 206 pounds. I had about a 13% body fat, and I was all muscled up. Then I tore a bicep muscle. They, you know, when I had the surgery, they told me to stop taking the supplements I was taking because they could interfere with my ability to heal when they sewed the muscle back together. So I did. That's what caused the MS attack, in my opinion. The doctors think it's a bunch of crap, but I absolutely believe that. So when I was in the hospital and they were telling me I couldn't walk again, I'd been there for 3 or 4 weeks, and I was barely able to get out of the bed. I mean, I was able to roll over by myself, but I was barely able to get out of the bed. And when I walked, I couldn't feel my foot at all, you know, with a walker. The nurses had to help me get out of the bed. You know, get in a wheelchair. I was actually using a wheelchair for a long time. So I got tired of the lack of improvement, and I ordered one of my supplements, the one that I was fairly certain was making the biggest difference when I was taking them. Sorry, I hit the thing by accident. And so I ordered it and had it actually delivered to my hospital room. And I mega dosed on it the first day. By the next day, I was walking better. And then every day after that, I was getting better and better and better. So Thanksgiving, I told you I needed help rolling over into bed, getting out of bed, going to the bathroom. By Christmas, I was walking with a walker. By Valentine's Day, I was using a cane. And now I don't walk with a cane at all. I walk like a 90-year-old man, but I'm able to get around without a cane now. And hopefully this will continue to get better, because I want to start going out and doing investigations and looking for Bigfoot and that kind of stuff. Especially up down in Alabama, there I actually hear Bigfoot out my window for the first for the first 5 months after I moved down here. My dad had an extra house, so when I was hospitalized, he told me to move down here. You know, so I'd be around and he could help me, because we didn't know if I was going to get any better, you know. So for the first 5 months I was here, I could hear a Bigfoot out here about between 11 and 2 in the morning. Every single night there would be a Bigfoot screaming out here. And the Bigfoot would scream, and then the coyotes would go crazy, you know. And I knew it was a Bigfoot. It was either a Bigfoot or a woman being murdered. There was no way it was an animal. I know that for a fact. So I want to get out there and go looking for the thing. And there have been Bigfoot sightings within 8 miles of where I am right now. So I want to get out there. But right now, I am barely able to walk around in my yard because of the unevenness of the grass. So I'm hoping, you know, by, say, next spring, I'll be able to get around well enough to where if I just have a walking stick of some kind, that I'll be able to get out in the woods and look for Bigfoot and that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen. So anyway, when I got down here, I think I did a couple of Townhall kind of things in, I don't know when it was, April maybe. I don't really need to look it up, y'all know. So back, I mean, I was gone for a couple of months, then I did a couple of town halls, and then I disappeared again. What happened was, I have two laptops. There's one that I had been using, and the hard drive cable inside of it broke. So my computer went down. So I switched to my old laptop and got it going, and I ordered the part to replace in my newer laptop, and I got the part for my newer laptop and put it in. And the day that I got that, my old actually the day before, my old laptop stopped working. It was barely working as it was, and it wasn't good enough for me to try and do actually, I think one of the streams I did there at the end of April or something was on the old laptop, and it was all messed up and didn't really come out very good. It's either that or I did that and I never posted it or couldn't even do it. I forget. Either way, the laptop just wouldn't work. So I got the part for my newer laptop, put it in there, and went to fire it up, and it wouldn't start. It wouldn't come on at all. Well, the battery charger died. The light would come on, but it wasn't actually charging the battery. So then I had to turn around and order a battery charger. Waited a week, because I got Amazon Prime. 3 days, whatever it was. Got that in, got it charged up, fired it up. I'm like, all right, now I'm good to go. I can get back on. And when it fired up, it started complaining about hard drive failure. So evidently the cable went bad and it messed up the hard drive. So the hard drive was only working good enough for like me to turn it on and use the internet and then turn it back off, because it was actually like slowly eating away at the data on the hard drive. I still have it. I'm going to try and recover the data, because I have a lot of my my images on there and stuff that I use for the podcast on there, and I want to try and get them off. But so that's why this didn't start with my usual beginning. And I did manage, because these pictures, like that one back there, happened to be up on my Google Plus page, or my Google Drive, one or the other. Well, both really. And so I pulled them down, but some of my other stuff is missing. I'm going to try and pull it off of there. So anyway, computer failures, and then I got a settlement for my bicep tear, and I built a new computer. And I'm going to go over what I did to build the new computer. Well, I probably don't even need to do that for here. This is a Bigfoot show. But basically, I built a Ryzen 7 2700X, which is, what is it, 16? 8 processor, 16, what the hell is it? I forgot. Hold on. All right, what the hell is this now? Let me see. 8 core, 16 threads. That's what it is. Yeah, Ryzen 7. Got that. Got a new case. Got new hardware. I've got like 10 terabytes of storage now. I have a badass computer now. So the reason I got that is because for streaming and all that stuff, and now I'm on Twitch. And you can find me on Twitch under App Jones Media, AP Jones Media, and I've been doing some stuff on there, and I'm trying to right now figure out how to use virtual machines so that I can simulcast, so I can do a live stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. And I'm going to be working on that. Maybe not tomorrow, but I should be getting that up and running by like Monday or Tuesday. And then once I have that up, I'm going to be on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously and start doing shows every night on both at the same time. And that was one of the reasons I went with top of the line, basically, CPU. So I've got like 16 gig of memory. I mean, it's a really good computer, so I shouldn't have any problems with it for quite some time. You know, this computer shouldn't be antiquated for at least 5 years. So, but I do plan on upgrading it to a Threadripper, but that's another topic. So anyway, that was what happened, and I got the computer built, and then I had to reinstall the operating system like a dozen times. And because of the nerve problems I have, it actually took me 2 days to build this computer. And it should have, like in, back before all this happened, it would have took me about 30, 45 minutes to put this computer together. It took me 2 days. It has thumb screws on the back. And I'm just telling you this so you know how bad this is. It has, you know what a thumb screw is. It has you could use a screwdriver, but it's also big enough and it's knurled so you can turn it with your thumb. It took me, there were 2 of them there's 2 of them holding the outside cover on. And it took me, I think, an hour and a half to put those in. Just 2 of them, to put them in and tighten them so the top would stay. And there's thumb screws all through this thing, but the thumb screws on the inside I think they were holding my video card in, because it stands up so the video card goes in sideways. So like in the old desktops, the video card would go up and down. So you really didn't need to put a screw in there to hold it in place. Well, because it's sitting this way, I have to, because it's a high-end video card. So it's about this thick, about this wide and that long. And it's got like 2 fans on it, so it's pretty heavy. So I can't just sit it in there. I had to put the thumb screw back in. I am not kidding, folks. It took me 4 hours to put that thumb screw in, because of this, where it went up inside, and then I had to put it in and turn it. It took me 4 hours because I kept dropping it. So that's why it took me 2 days to put this computer together. And then once I did that, I had to reinstall the operating system a bunch of times, because I put it in there and then find out that they upgraded something. So something I've been using for my podcasts and stuff doesn't work anymore. And then I reinstall a different operating system. I use Linux instead of Windows. So I'd put a different one in and find out, okay, it works good for that. But it was just silly stuff, like the web browser was messing up, and so finally I ended up, I got it fixed anyway. So I finally got it going, and I was trying to do the virtualization, and it turned out that I upgraded the kernel, and turns out that they just recently changed the kernel that broke the virtualization. So I had that all set up and I was ready to go. I upgraded the kernel, now bam, it didn't work anymore. So it's been one thing after another. So finally, everything is settled down. I've got to a point where I can do the podcast again, and everything should be good to go from now on. So, oh, well, there's 5 people. Oh, sorry, I haven't been looking at the comments. You're from the UK? Ukraine in Domat City. My soldier ambushed from Ukraine. I have no idea what you're saying, Sergey. Hey, Ralph, how you doing? I hope you didn't post that like 20 minutes ago and then leave because I wasn't talking back to you. So if y'all have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments and I'll answer them. If you want to talk about Bigfoot instead of my health issues. Oh, that was the other thing I forgot. They also started me on, in June, they started me on beta-seron, which is, I have to take injections every 2 days, which is supposed to stop the MS from, stop me from having MS attacks anymore. And hopefully that will be the case. But anyway, this stuff makes you really sick. So you had to stay, it's almost like chemotherapy. I had to start out with very small doses and every 2 weeks increase them. And then by the time I got to the full dose, every time, actually up until a week ago, every time I took the shot, I felt like I had a really bad case of the flu for an entire day, day and a half. And then I would feel fine again. But then, of course, a couple hours later, I had to take it again. So, you know, that went on for weeks. And it wasn't until about a week and a half ago, maybe, that I started feeling okay now. My body got used to it. So that was another thing that was messing with me. Well, thanks, Robert. I'm glad to be back, dude. No here. Crypto. Alright. I want to know if a could stand a chance against a Bigfoot. I kind of don't think so. I really don't think so. Bigfoot weighs about 3 times what a silverback gorilla weighs. I'm just guessing because nobody's put one on a scale, but that's been the estimate. They weigh anywhere up to 1,500 pounds. Anywhere from like 300-400, depending on the size, all the way up to the biggest one the biggest estimate I've heard from somebody who's seen one was 1,500 pounds. Hi, Amy. Amy Dickinson. I think I went to school with a girl named Amy Dickinson. Anybody want to talk Bigfoot? No. I think a grizzly, a Bigfoot would just rip it apart. Shoot or don't shoot? Blast away. I'm actually fixing to buy a 45-70 for when I go out. If I get a good clean shot, I'm gonna take them down, and I'm gonna feel terrible because I think that there is subhuman a good way to put it. I think that they are us in prehistory times, when back primitive cavemen. I think that that's where Bigfoots are, intelligence wise and sentience wise. I think that they are where we were, say, what, 100,000 years ago, maybe 50,000 years ago. I think that's where they are. So I would shoot one only to prove it, so that, because I don't know that they need our help necessarily, but I would hate to, in 10 years from now, find out that they're dying off and we could have done something to help them. You know what I'm saying? .300 Win Mag. That's a pretty good size gun. I'm actually not familiar with that. I know it's like a big game gun, correct? Is that a 30 caliber? Is that what the 300 means? I'm just not familiar with it. The Bigfoot I saw didn't have a cone head like a gorilla. I actually have a pointy head. My head, literally, it's like a mini cone head. My head in the middle does this number. Like when I shave my head, you can see it's like I have a little, almost like a sagittal crest, but a really small one. So, to say they have one like a gorilla, no, because gorillas, actually, their muscles, their jaw muscles connect to the top of their head right there. So that sagittal crest is really a bone that's shaped like that, right? And it comes out to here, and then the muscles for their jaw comes up around it and connects to that concave part of the top of their head. I don't think Sasquatches do that. Just like us, we don't do that. I don't do that, but I still have a little pointy head. Sasquatch, I think, is a similar thing. It's just the shape of the individual skull, and they might tend to have more of that than we do, but it's not, like a part of their musculature. Yeah, I thought so. But what is it like? Take a really heavy load and like a large round? I think the 45-70 goes up to is it 350 or 400 grain ball? The lead part. No, everybody knows that Bigfoots, they eat meat. They chase deer down, they kill them, they eat their livers, they kill people, they eat people. Speaking from the Patterson film. Patterson film is the only video I trust. I actually have, I'm going to do a video where I go over, I think it's 3 different, I'll have to look because I'm bookmarked in my, in a spot there, to where I can go, there's 3 different movies really that have real Bigfoots in them. And they've been around for a long time, but most people think they're hoaxes, and I'm going to go over them and explain why I don't believe they are hoaxes. Yeah, they go after deer. Yeah, I believe they're like us. They'll eat whatever the heck they want to. Yeah, the 4570 supposedly can take down an elephant too. Elephant, grizzly. That's why I picked it out. I actually almost bought one a month ago, but it was I forget who made it, but when I felt it, it just didn't feel. It felt very like it was a lever action bush gun. But the lever action was very stiff, and it didn't seem to be, they didn't make it, or was it ergonomic, the best way to put it, to where when you went to open it, it felt like you were cutting the back of your knuckles off and stuff. And it just seemed like it was, they didn't put much thought into it. They just stamped out the metal, slapped it together, and that was it, you know what I'm saying? Instead of rounding stuff out so that it was, you know, it didn't destroy your knuckles when you're trying to do it. So I'm looking to get a different one. Yeah, I've never heard them talk. Like I said, I got one that comes out here. It goes in the field right out here for 5 months. Every single night I'd hear it out here. And I haven't heard it ever since when it got hot, because it's been in the 90s up until the last few days. It's been in the 90s and the 80s at night. And when it got that hot, it stopped. And I haven't heard it since. So now I'm looking to see if it's going to start coming around again now that it's cooling off. Because I think it was migrating and passing through the area. But I'm not kidding. Every single night between 11 and 2 in the morning, sometime in there, I'd hear the thing scream. Then I'd hear the coyotes. I mean, every night. And now, since the Bigfoot stopped screaming, the coyotes haven't been around either. So it's like the coyotes and the Bigfoot went together. But I've heard it scream, but I've never heard talk. My evolutionary take on the Dogman. I vaguely remember talking about that. I think what I was saying was the only way I could believe that dogmen exist is if they were standing upright, but they were still like a dog, you know, because they're still canine. If they're dogmen, they would still be a canine. They would be an evolved dog, but really. $500 Smith. I'm not familiar with that one either. Actually, I think I've heard of that one. It's supposed to be like, isn't it that the biggest handgun round or something like that? It's bigger than a Desert Eagle or something. When I hear the one screaming out here, it's probably I'd say no more than a half a mile from my window, there's a field out here. Right now they have a crop of cotton, a cotton field. But there's woods about, well, maybe a quarter mile out. There's a big wood line that goes, what is this? What would that be? South, and then over here it goes north. I don't know how far the field goes beyond there because there's no way to get out there. It's just you have to get in a tractor and drive out there, and it's not my property. But and it sounds like the thing comes from the south. I know one time I heard it on the northern side, so it must cross the field and go from south to north, and it would do that every night. Yeah, I have a dog. Why? The earth is so big. I don't know what you're referring to. Yeah, that's what I thought. The 500, it's a fairly new gun though, right? It's only been around, I don't know, a few years maybe? Because the Desert Eagle was the most powerful handgun prior to this 500 coming out, if I'm remembering correctly. Because I think I ran across that when I was looking into which, that's when I came down to getting a 4570. I was running across it, but I wasn't too interested in handguns. Actually, I was, as far as, like, I'm going to get a 45, like a Western type gun. Not that it's going to help with the Bigfoot, but it'll make a lot of noise, you know, and I can use it to shoot coyotes if I happen to, if I'm out there and I happen across them, or they happen across me. Has it been 10 years? Yeah. That's actually pretty recent, really, in the grand scheme of things, really. The one I saw, you mean when I was 13, the one I talk about in episode 1, or you mean the one I'm hearing out here? Because this one I've not seen. I just hear it. I've heard it, well, not anymore. It's not been around the last couple of months, but if you're talking about the one I saw in Virginia, really, they make a 44 mag? I didn't know that. I thought it was just a 50 cal. The one I saw in Virginia, I don't know how tall it was because it was looking in the window at me, and the window was only where its face was would have only been about 6 feet up, but it was outside and I was inside, so I don't know if it was crouched down looking in the window. It kind of, when I think back to like the angle of its head and how it was looking in the window, I think it was actually squatted down, you know, like its butt on its ankles, if you know what I mean, like squatted down like that, and it was looking in the window. So that would make it pretty good size, because 6 feet up. Well, actually it would have been only 5 on the outside, because that house was on the side of a mountain and there's a lot of clay there, and so heavy rains over the decades had caused the clay to slowly make its way down, almost like a glacier, and it had built up on the outside of the house. So the wall, the ground on the outside of the wall is probably a foot, if not more, higher than the floor inside the house. So yeah, it was squatted down, so it would probably be, it probably would have been 7.5 feet tall, I would think. I don't believe Bigfoot is real. I know Bigfoot is real. I've seen it. Really? You had an encounter at 16. So what happened? Was it a lengthy one, or did you just run by you? I mean, What happened? Because I mean, is it something you'd want to come on the show and talk about, or was it just a fleeting glimpse kind of thing? Because when somebody says encounter to me that means there was something that happened. You know, like me, we stared at each other through a window, or somebody who you're out walking around and all of a sudden you look up and there's one staring at you and it's giving you a dirty look. And then there's the people who are driving down the road go, oh, there's a Bigfoot. That to me is not an encounter. That's a sighting. Was it an encounter or a sighting? I hope this chat's moving right. So it looks like the scroll bar. What's going on here? Sorry about that, folks. I don't know how long it was like that. It was behind my browser. Oh, 2 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, you should come on the show and talk and tell me what happened. Was it an underwear changing moment? Yeah, from what I can gather, as far as the sizes, the females average 7 to 8 feet tall, and the males average 8 to 12 feet tall. Or that's their range, not average. Well, you would talk to me because, you know, I can put you on I have a Discord. We can talk in Discord. And then I would just run it through my mixer panel and put it on a live stream. You know, we would talk live just like I am right now. Or we could do it recorded, either way. What you do is email me. I would, if you don't have my email, it'll be at the end of the show, but I'll tell you right now, it's Sasquatch Hypotheses, that's ES, plural, at Gmail. Just email me and we'll communicate back and forth and set the whole thing up. Describe the face. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you right now. I actually did a 3D. I used to dabble in, I've used probably a half dozen to a dozen professional 3D modeling programs because I was into all that stuff. So it's actually behind me right now. I did a 3D model, you know, where I could turn it around, and I was going to do a whole animated body where it can talk and stuff. But because of this whole MS thing, I can barely use my fingers now. But anyway, here, I'll show it to you. This is a image of the 3D model I did. This is a render. There. That's what I saw looking in the window. And I have another picture. This one here, the one you're looking at now, is the most farthest along version. I have another earlier render, and I'm actually not satisfied with this one. I really need to do some more work on the skin texture and like the lips and that kind of stuff. But this is pretty close. Let me tell you, if you see this, you're looking at a Bigfoot. That it's close enough for me to be able to say that, you know, but it's pretty close to what I saw. The other one is, where is it? Yeah, you can't really see that one. There you go. That one there. That's an earlier render, like maybe 10 versions before the one I just showed you. But I like this one. I like the way it came out. I like how messed up the fur looks and stuff. And that angle of the face is how it was looking at me through the window. It's kind of sinister. So, there you go. Cool. Is that good for you, Amy, or? Bigfoot versus the personally, no. I mean, I've obviously heard other accounts like on Sasquatch Chronicles and some other shows, but well, and then there was the guy I had on my show who was stationed in Alaska, but it wasn't really a. To me, it sounds like Bigfoot versus the military. You're talking about a confrontation. I've heard about that happening, but. And I don't doubt it has happened, because I think that the government probably is sending out special forces to take down rogue Sasquatch. So did what look like the one from the Patterson film? I just put it up. I think it does. I think the one I did does look like the one in the Patterson film, except the one in the Patterson film had more hair running down around here. Because I actually did a version, and if I can ever pull the images off my hard drive that's about to completely die on me, I actually have. Actually, I wonder if I have it on my Google Drive. Let me read these comments, then I'll see if it's on my Google Drive, and I'll put it up here. The face of mine is too dark. See, that's the thing of it. Different computer monitors, like if I put it up on my monitor and up on your monitor, it can, like, my monitor might be brighter or darker than your monitor. My monitor might be redder or bluer than your monitor. So when I do it, I do it according to my monitor. I have no idea what it looks like to you. Like right now, this one behind me on the screen, right there, it looks very crazy, pasty, pale, kind of bluish color. It doesn't look like that at all here on my television. It looks kind of a dark gray is the skin, and the hair is a dark brown with reddish tint to it. So it looks completely different, even in the camera, is what it's actually capturing it from. And then when it comes out, what you're seeing in the video is actually different than what I see on my camera. On the video, it's not quite as white, bleached out. So it's hard to say. I can, if you tell me if the one I've done is too dark and it's hard for you to tell, I can actually lighten it up and send you that version, and you can see if it looks more like it. All right, let me catch up on the comments here. I think crypto, I think 6 feet 265. I'm 6'4", 270, and Bigfoot would snap me in half. He would just rip me apart. So that should answer your question. And I bench 310, so. Well, I did before I got MS anyway. The one where he's looking from the side, yeah. Yeah, that's how it was looking in the window at me. Creepy, yeah. It's kind of why I kept it. There was a girl, actually, at the end of the Dyatlov Pass episode that I just posted, I talk about a girl named Nicole. Well, she actually has been keeping in touch with me all of this time. You know, we've talked a lot. She lives in Manhattan. And she told me that I should make a t-shirt with that one because she thought it was creepy and scary. And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of rough looking. said, I don't care, it's creepy and scary. So I've kind of kept it around because, you know, it's a general consensus that that's the creepiest and scariest one. And that's the way it looked at me in the window. That's why I actually did that one, because I was trying to recreate the exact scene that I saw. Oh, that one's blown out. Yeah, it's darker. When I actually look at that screen directly, it's a lot darker than what the camera's picking up. And what you're seeing is actually a little bit darker than what the camera sees. But it's still a lot lighter than what I look at when I look at the monitor, when I look at the TV. It's just different, you know, settings or whatever. So the same image can look different on different monitors. So if what you're seeing, you're saying is more like what you saw, then yours was more Caucasian looking. This one here is more like a, if you want an ashy black man, that's the color of the skin. It's like black, but it's got a grayish look to it, almost like it's ashy, but it's not really ashy. The one I saw was like that. It was very dark black, but it had a gray look to it. Dark, like charcoal gray, I guess would be the best way of putting it. Crypto, I'll answer your question in a second. I'm trying to catch up before they scroll off the screen. Yahoo, yeah, I guess they do that in Kentucky too. Good morning, Reverb. Is that Reverb? Yeah, Reverb. Amy, what makes you think that you've been close to one a couple of times? Ralph, it sounds like the hair is the same color as the one the one I saw was dark out, but I got the impression that it was brown, not black, even though it was so dark. But the one behind me has reddish brown hair, so the hair is about this. I don't know. Well, yeah, I guess it kind of looks. It's a little darker on there than what you're seeing. I think a silverback gorilla would run from a Bigfoot. And why they live in the woods, why nobody can't find their hideouts. I don't think it's that. I think they put their, like, what's his name, Rio? Utah Rio or Rio, I almost said retard, Rio, the guy that lives in Utah, that supposedly he's found a lot of what he calls wallows, which I think he means is where they hang out, where they live or whatever, like their living room and bedroom. But they're very secluded, and so anytime a Bigfoot is going to set up shop somewhere, wherever they're going to, I mean, think about it. If you were sleeping out in the woods, you would probably, I'm going to sneeze in a second. You would probably make sure that your sleeping bag is somewhere where, you know, cougars aren't going to get to you, bears aren't going to get to you, you know what I'm saying? Well, they do that because they have other Sasquatch and humans that they want to, you know, stay away from. So they're going to make sure that they're where they set up shop, where they're sleeping and eating and hanging out, is going to be hard to get to or hard to find. So I think that's all it is. I don't think that they're like, you know, they might be living in caves. If there were caves around, I think they would go in there. I think Bigfoots, I've wanted to go, like, see, all on the East Coast, like east of the Mississippi, there's a lot of buildings that are from the 1800s. And I think, and they're abandoned. Some of them are out in the middle of the woods. You'd be out there hiking and all of a sudden, holy smokes, look at this. I guess somebody lived here 100 years ago. I think Bigfoots, when they run across those, they make that their home. As long as they're secluded enough. The Bigfoot I saw looking in the window, I'm pretty sure it was actually living in the barn out behind Granny's house. Nobody used the barn. It had hay up in there that had been sitting in the loft for like 3 years because nobody had used the barn in a long time. And I think it was living in the barn. And I think Sasquatch do that. So they would live in a cave if they had a cave around. You know, they're like us. They're going to take shelter wherever they can find it. And if they can't find it, they know how to survive without it. But if they had their druthers, they'd go in a cave or a building. That's what I think. Mark Zasky got, in my opinion, he got that idea from me because I wrote a paper about that 3 or 4 years ago and put it on a website, another Bigfoot research website. And I actually did a video about it. It's called Bigfoot Sasquatch Cloaking or something. Let me look and see what episode that was. Hold on a second. I'll tell you what episode it was because I actually talked about that. And I had him on my show and he started, I think he talked about that on the show. I was like, oh no, he talked about it in his video. And I was like, oh, you son of a bitch, you know, because a lot of people are talking about that now. And I talked about it, I think it was when was it? 2012. So that would have been 6 years ago. And I talked about it on Sasquatch Chronicles because I was interviewed on their show. I was episode 56. And I talked about it on there too. And the reason I came up with that idea is because the 3D modeling, when you're trying to do an organic texture, there's something called subsurface scattering. And what it does is it's an algorithm where you can set up multiple colors. And the ray tracer will simulate going through, and you can set up how translucent it is, a light ray passing through a material that has an X translucency with X layers of colors, and it will simulate real world what will happen to that light ray when it goes through and what color it will be when it comes out. And messing with all of that, I discovered that you can completely change the color by, like, if there's a color near it that it bounces off first and that kind of thing, it will actually modify the color. And that was before I actually heard after that I guess polar bears, they're not white, their hair is actually translucent and they look white because of their environment, and which is right along the lines of what I've been saying. Here, I'll tell you what the episode is. Hold on. See, I had Mark Zasky was episode 15. And my thing on... Where the heck is it? Oh, wait a minute. Geez, I actually have 2 pages of episodes now. Episode 3. It's called Sasquatch Cloaking. And I posted that in 2015. And that's where I talk about that very thing. And I'd never heard anyone mention it, and now all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. So, and that, what I was just talking, because I didn't say what I was talking about, the achromatic coloring thing that, who said that? Leon. I think it's Leon. Yeah, Leon. That's what I was just talking about. Watch episode 3, or listen to, really, because I don't have any video there. It's just me talking. Watch my episode 3. I talk all about that. It's Bigfoot taco. That's funny. Burrito. It's a Bigfoot burrito. That's a better analogy, I think. No, I don't think they stay underground. No. I don't think they're ever underground unless they happen to have a cave nearby. Well, that would be dinner. Bigfoot have centuries. Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, if there's multiples of them, sure. I mean, what is it? Is it marmots? I forget. They're like little tiny, almost like small groundhogs, but they live together in like little, I don't think it's packs, whatever, but several of them like in family groups. And like one will sit out and it'll give a yip, 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 whatever to warn the other ones that somebody's coming, and they'll all run down in the hole. So if a small animal like that would do that, you know, any animal will. They'll keep sentries and that kind of thing. No, I don't think they travel underground all over the world. I don't think they can. How would they? Not like they have the Bigfoot subway system, you know. Yeah, Ralph, did you get my email? Ralph, you still there? Tell me if you got my email. It's Sasquatch Hypotheses, all one word, at Gmail. Email me and we'll set it up. All right. Good night. Ralph. I'm not saying good night to everybody. Good night, Ralph. You said you live in, what was it, Idaho, Amy? Did I get that right? Were you in Idaho? What was that what you said? There must be a lot of delay. No, there's not that much delay. Oh, so you're very familiar with barns and haylofts, correct? Okay, the Bigfoot that was out behind Granny's house was in a barn that had a bunch of hay that had been left in the hayloft for years. I'm sure you must have at some point in your childhood run across a situation like that where there's a bunch of hay, I mean a big pile of hay, that had been sitting somewhere and gotten wet and moldy and mildewy and all that stuff, right? Yes or no? Man, I'm pretty sure yes, but I'm going to ask you just to make sure. I'm talking to Amy about hay right now. All right. Now you take that smell and add maybe a 4-day-old carcass and a skunk. And that's what I smelled in that barn. Is that what you smelled? I mean, you might have smelled something different. I'm just saying that's what I smelled. That's how just rancid and rank it was. And if you smelled something that would be on that part on that level, then I would say that was a Bigfoot, you know. Roadkill and garbage. You know, I mean, that the garbage would be like the bad hay. Just do roadkill, garbage, and skunk. And that, to me, that's what I remember. I mean, I guess all Bigfoot could smell different, though, you know. Some of them don't have as bad a BO, I guess. Or it's a little different brand, you know. So what happened? You think you got infrasound, Amy? Yeah, I was just messing with you, but because if you add that, because you're familiar with what it smell, how bad hay can smell when it's been wet and gotten into that condition, and then on top of that, you know, you add, that's a pretty nasty smell. But yeah, I think you're describing what a Bigfoot smell. Yeah, I would just add skunk because everybody I've ever heard adds talks about it in terms of a skunky smell. It's just usually more or less, I guess. Mine definitely had a skunky smell mixed in with like rotting meat and skunk, rotting meat. Oh, and then I had the hay in there, but yeah. Well, when you said zapped, were you talking about infrasound? No, supposedly dogs, they won't track a Bigfoot because they know what it is. If not like knowledge-wise, instinctually, whenever anyone's had to try to get a dog to track a Bigfoot, they won't do it. They just refuse to track it. What do you mean no smell as a kid? I'm confused now. Telepath? See, I have a problem with that because on the one hand, I believe that some type of telepathy exists between people. I don't know if it's more instinctual. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that I believe that fit in that sphere. But when I hear people talk about Bigfoots being telepaths, I just have a hard time believing that. Like when people say mind speak and all that stuff, I have a hard time with that. So I'm like not on the fence. I waffle back and forth, I guess, because on the one hand I believe in that kind of stuff, but on the other hand, I have a hard time believing Bigfoot does it in the way that people describe it. You know, they almost make it sound like the Bigfoot's having a conversation with them via mind speak, and I don't think telepathy works that way. Telepathy works more in imagery, flashes of imagery, feelings, concepts. It's not communication. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Amy, you're describing what other people have described as zapped, being hit with infrasound. But that could also just be a fear response. That's kind of like the telepathy thing. I'm on the fence. I believe it's quite possible Bigfoots have infrasound. But I've heard so many different descriptions of what the infrasound does to people. I just don't think there would be that wide of a field of effect. You know, there was one guy who said he was a mountain biker that he got zapped with infrasound, and he started taking all his clothes off because he thought, I don't know, I forget what he said. He thought he was at a spring and it was a really hot day and it was actually winter. I find it hard to believe that that's an effect of infrasound. So, but what you're describing, I could believe is an effect of infrasound. But it could also be a fear response from the infrasound, if that makes sense. You know, the physical effect on your body may have been the infrasound itself, or the infrasound could have caused fear to the extent that the fear caused that thing in your body. I believe both of those can be true with infrasound. I don't believe people hallucinate that they're on a hot beach in the middle of winter with infrasound, though. You know. Yeah, Amy, that year I saw the Bigfoot looking in the window. I actually walked about, I don't know, it was about 2, maybe 3 miles along the side of the mountain, and I had a little dog with me, and the dog kept stopping. It was walking in front of me, and it kept stopping and looking back behind me over here. And I'd be like, what are you looking at? And I'd turn around and look, and I was hearing cracks and stuff like that out in the woods. And I never thought nothing of it. But then years later, because that was, I think, a week or two before I saw it looking in the window at me, it occurred to me that was probably a Bigfoot, walking, paralleling me, and the dog kept looking back at it. And that dog, I found out by the barn, squished flat in the mud a couple of days before I saw the Bigfoot. But yeah, I was like you. I didn't bother me to walk through the woods. We had black bears and everything out there. I've not heard of pit bulls, no. I've heard of bloodhounds and like cadaver dogs, which I guess would be not a German Shepherd, a Belgian Shepherd. And I think not blue tick, was it blue tick? Or Weimaraner or something like that. It would not surprise me to find out that Sasquatch are capable of communicating. I think it might be like talking to a 4-year-old, but I mean, when I talk to my kids or my grandkids at 4 years old, I know what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Although some other people say they don't know what the kids are saying, but you know, you kind of know what your kid's saying. I think it's the same thing with Bigfoot. You could talk to them and get to understand like how they're pronouncing and stuff like that, and be able to talk to them just like you would a kid. But other people coming right into it without familiarizing themselves might not be able to make heads or tails of what they're saying. I think Indians probably have a big connection to Bigfoot. I mean, they've been around forever. You know, they were here with Bigfoot long ago, forced to live with them in wigwams and teepees that the Bigfoot could just pick up and say, hey, what's going on? Oh, you listened to that story, huh? You're a long-time listener, Amy. Glad to hear it. You're not from Boston, are you? 'Cause I'm pretty sure I went to school with an Amy Dickinson. Although that's probably not your maiden name. Oh, you said Tennessee and Idaho. So, obviously not. On yeah? Oh yeah. Or you mean oh yeah? For what? Oh, long-time listener. Okay. Yeah, I get it now. Well, glad to hear it. I'm actually surprised. I've been gone a long time at how many people have left me comments saying they're glad to see I'm back after I posted that one, which is actually a show that I posted a long time ago. I just re-edited it, and I'm getting a lot of comments from people. It's nice to hear. I just gotta get about 5 times the subscribers, start making enough money on YouTube, because my hospital bills are almost $100,000 now. Medical, not just hospital. I couldn't believe I was in the hospital for just shy of 2 months. My hospital bill for 2 weeks was $48,000. I never got billed for the rest. I don't know why. I only got billed for 2 weeks. Either that or that was the whole bill, but they only listed 2 weeks. I couldn't understand what that was about. Yes, Leon, I absolutely. Yeah, I think that their population is increasing. I think it's actually both. I think people are seeing them more. Well, all three, really. People are seeing more of them because we've expanded more. They're running across us more often because their territory is becoming smaller. I don't think they're in danger of being out of territory. I just think when they, for instance, this one that I think is going through here based on season, well, it might come through in the spring and it goes somewhere else, and then it's going to come back through in the fall. Well, over the summertime, a construction company comes in and they build a bunch of houses. So when that Bigfoot comes back in the fall, he goes, what the hell is this? All of a sudden there's a bunch of houses there, or, not a bunch, but several houses. I mean, they've built, just since I've been here, since December, they've built 4 houses on this street since that. I mean, then there's people living in them already, and that's just been in the last 6 months. So a Bigfoot passes through. When he comes back, all of a sudden there's a subdivision. You know what I'm saying? So that is why they're running across us more often. I also think their population is increasing, and I think people are less, they're not as afraid of reporting them anymore. So all of those things together, I think, is what's causing it. Leon, I was talking to him. Uh-oh, a whole bunch of viewers are gone now, and nobody's commenting. Everybody leave? Leon, Amy, Crypto. Who else was commenting? Oh, Ralph, he went to bed. He's got to go hunting, I guess. And I guess it was just Amy, Crypto, and who did I say? Just Leon. Oh, Robert. Oh, okay. Yeah. As long as y'all are still here, I'll keep on going. And I'll let you know I'm actually fixing to start a new I don't know if you want to call it segment, podcast, show, whatever. Where I'm gonna call it Bigfoot Brief, where I'm gonna go over like what's been going on as far as new Bigfoot sightings and that kind of thing, and I'm going to try anyway. I mean, sometimes that stuff's hard to come by, and I don't know that I trust going to BFRO, because as I've understood it from other people talking about making reports to them, they tend to put their fingers in the reports and massage them a little bit. So I wouldn't necessarily want to go there. I might use it as a source to verify or something, but I'm going to try and come up with some valid Bigfoot news, basically. and start doing at least once a week. If there's more, I'll do it more than that, but that's coming up. I've got a whole bunch of stuff stockpiled. I have to go through it and figure out how I'm going to format the show and that kind of thing. So if any of y'all who are watching right now been Bigfoot investigators out in the field and looking at tracks and taking reports, or you just armchair, well, like I've always been, just listening to shows and that kind of thing. My thing, well, my purpose, what I set out, I actually created this channel, I think in 2013, and I don't know if I posted my first show, but that's when I set it up, because I wanted to do a show that doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for? MS causes me to have problems like grabbing words, so give me a second. Not romanticizing, sensationalizing. I don't want to, there's so many shows out there that try to sensationalize Bigfoot sightings and that kind of thing. It kind of was getting on my nerves. So I wanted to start a show where I talk about just, you know, just the straight scoop. And that was kind of the point of it, to shoot straight, to talk straight, to not go into the ether about it, you know, like the woo factor, which I'm going to do a show about what I mean and what my perspective is on the woo factor, just like I did as far as conspiracies and that, because it's not really cut and dry with me, but it kind of drives me crazy when some people talk about the woo factor so much. So that was kind of the point of the show, and I hope that people like that and it will grow. But so far, I mean, it hasn't grown very fast because I tend to say stuff and people get pissed off at me and then they unsubscribe. So Amy, you go out in the woods gathering, but not looking for Bigfoot. What are you gathering? You mean gathering evidence of Bigfoot, or just like fruits and berries? I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm really curious what you meant by gathering. Berries and mushrooms. Oh. Oh, you mean gathering, like hunter-gatherer. Okay. That's cool. I wish I could get mushrooms, but it scares the shit out of me because, you know, I've tried to look to see, okay, what's a good mushroom, what's a bad one, because when I lived in Ohio, we had mushrooms grow around the house all the time, and I was like, I wonder if those are edible, and you can't find nothing on them, so I was always afraid that, you know, you don't want to try it, because I heard a story about, was it 2 or 3 teenagers, and I think it was Australia, that ate a mushroom, and their insides liquefied in like in a few days, and they died, obviously. So I don't mess with them, but I wish I could identify mushrooms. I guess that's big business here up in the Appalachians. That like what's it called? Is it chicken tail or turkey tail or some crap like that? Mushrooms, and you know, the various kinds of mushrooms. And they make like big money off of that stuff. Robert, as far as being in the UK, it's like I've never heard of them being there, and then Finding Bigfoot came on, And all of a sudden people started saying, oh yeah, they're here. You know, I don't know if they're trying to jump on the bandwagon. I mean, you live there. Is that the case, that they just jumped on the bandwagon after finding Bigfoot? Or have you always heard stories, but you just think that they're old stories and they're not around anymore? Because I'd be curious. I don't see why they wouldn't be. Don't get me wrong. I've never heard of it. Crypto. Human teeth are made for both. We're omnivores. That's why we have eye teeth for ripping and tearing meat and incisors for cutting meat. So I've heard people say that. It's just not true. Our molars are for vegetables, but from our eye teeth forward is for meat. Yeah, crypto. I actually did an episode where I did a breakdown of several frames of the Patterson film and talked about why that film is genuine. Don't believe what lie? All you have to do is look at your teeth, man. You know what they're for. I don't get sick when I eat meat. I get sick when I don't eat meat. You have to have protein, and you don't get enough protein from plants. Now, I studied to be a personal trainer for years before this happened to me. I know diet. Am I still waiting for Amy to answer me about something? Oh, morels. Is morel a type of mushroom? Well, I don't know. All right, crypto, let's agree to disagree, dude. But let's think about it this way. Dogs eat meat. Dogs are meant to eat meat, right? Why do you think they call these canines? Our eye teeth are canine teeth. They're the same as dogs, the same as tigers, lions, all of these meat-eating animals. And the teeth in the front that are shaped like chisels, that's for cutting. But let's agree to disagree. Is it a mushroom you can eat, or is it from medicinal? What is it? I've never heard of a morel. Or maybe it's a regular mushroom and I've just never heard the name of it. Crypto, they're not as long, but it's the same tooth, same shape, same purpose. Oh, okay. So do you eat them, Amy? The morels? I've only had, what is it? Portobellos? Does all mushrooms taste the same, or do they have, like, morels are sweeter or sour or whatever? I don't know what a shiitake mushroom is, but I'll take your word for it. I know there's so many of them out there that are poisonous. If I don't buy it at the store, I ain't gonna mess with it. Oh, okay. I guess shiitake's not, because Leon had some. Oh, yesterday? Remember those kids in Australia, it took them, I think it was 4 days before their insides liquefied. So we'll be looking for you in a few days, Leon. Make sure you're still around. Alkaline diet. Yeah, I drink hydrogen peroxide every day. Oh, fried mushrooms. Yeah, I've had those. I don't know if those were portobellos, because I ordered them at a restaurant. They bring me fried mushrooms. I have no idea what kind of mushroom it is. It might be the same ones. I don't know, but I like them though. We're good. Look what up later? What, the alkaline thing? Well, that's what hydrogen peroxide does. It changes your alkalinity. Also oxygenates your cells. ASDA, there's a Kmart? Seriously? Kmart over here doesn't exist anymore. At least as far as I know, they every store I've seen has been closed down. They've gone out of business, is what I've heard. Over here anyway. Last Kmart I saw was in Ohio, and it closed down about 6 years ago. And I remember going in there just before they closed, and it was like being in a flea market. Everything was like really crappy stuff that it looked like they were trying to clear out a warehouse or something, and then like a couple of weeks later they closed down. Oh, well, I could believe that Walmart bought out Kmart. I could believe that, and then just closed them down and took over their inventory. Is my audio loud enough, by the way? Because I got a new mixer. Everyone was complaining about the audio on my old mixer. I had a Behringer, and now I have a Yamaha. But it seems to be the volume seems the same to me. And I have meters that tell me when it's clipping and too loud and that. And I always had it where it was supposed to be, but everyone said it wasn't loud enough. So Amy, I think you're the only one so far that said that you do, well, at least you don't do, well, what is your interest in? Here's why. I'm actually looking for like somebody to help me out with research or even talk on the show and that kind of thing. And I've been looking for a couple of years now and ain't been able to find anybody. So now I'm point blank I'm going to start asking people, if somebody's actually interested in doing research and stuff like that, come on the show and talk, and eventually somebody will want to do it all the time, because I'm tired of talking to myself, well, to the camera by myself. And I scare people off because I talk about like when I say conspiracy theory, it's a bunch of crap, they're not real, Men in Black aren't real, because what they say doesn't jive with how that operation would actually function. I don't mean I call it investigation. I don't think anyone's a researcher unless you've been schooled in scientific method of collecting. I don't think anyone should be calling himself a researcher, but an investigator, yeah. But no, I don't mean, are you doing research in the field? I mean, are you interested, like you've been studying it and looking into stuff and all that stuff, and would like to go out and look for Bigfoots? Because that's kind of what I'm looking for, somebody who will, like, bring stuff to my attention that I miss, talk to me, someone to bounce stuff off of, and maybe come on the show and interview people with me and that kind of stuff. But obviously it would have to be somebody who's kind of into it, not just as kind of an off the side hobby, which most people, I guess, that listen, that's basically what they are. They just kind of like to listen to the stories. Well, you know, primates, monkeys, they eat meat sometimes, especially chimpanzees, and I think bonobos. Crypto, you're my guy, huh? So have you been doing investigation in the field and that? It's not that I won't let it go. I think that you're wrong. I think that we're meant to eat meat, and I understand that perspective. I've heard that before. You know, it's nothing new, but I don't believe it. I studied what is it, comparative zoology at Harvard, and they talked all about the teeth and all that stuff, and it makes sense. But when people say we only supposed to eat vegetables, it don't make sense. Horses eat vegetables because all their teeth are flat. So that's just it. I mean, we can agree to disagree. I must have missed, Amy, you never thought of what, and you have a southern accent. Oh, I don't care if you have a southern accent. My dad's side of the family is hillbillies from Virginia, and I'm in Alabama, so. Yeah, you would pick chicken. Chicken's like the only thing you can't eat, well, chicken and pork, that you can't eat raw because it will mess you up. Bugfoot. Yeah, actually, scientists think that one of the reasons that our brains develop to be so large is because we eat meat. But there's an argument about whether that's red meat or fish. I've never eaten fish. I think I'm allergic to most fish because every time I eat it, I get deathly sick. And I mean, I've gone into restaurants where there's a strong fishy smell, and I get massive headaches. My eyes turn red. But my mother said that's just because it was bad, a nasty restaurant with nasty fish. If I was in a good restaurant with good fish, it wouldn't do that because it's just a much stronger fishy smell. I don't know. I just stay away from it. I should try to eat fish because it's good for you, but if I ever find the only fish I've had that I liked was conch. I've had that. That was good. All right, is everybody talked out? I don't see any more other than Crypto trying to convince me to stop eating meat. Leon, I assume that your comment about Bigfoot evolving massive strong is you're arguing with Crypto about eating meat. I assume that's what that was for. and not a question. All right, does anyone have any more questions? Because I'm just kind of sitting here staring at the chat waiting for questions, and I don't really have anything to say. I drive for Uber and Lyft, and I got off and then did this stream, so. Oh, actually, Leon and I forget, was it Robert? The two guys in UK. You said that there was history of Bigfoots, because you know, I want to get back on that. Crypto kind of got me off the. Where are you, Crypto? Where do you live? Because I can't teach you to shoot a gun if you're not near me. Leon and Robert, you still out there, man? New York. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to teach you to shoot. Oh, all right, there you are. History and artwork. Is there, but Leon, is there like a period of time in the UK where it seemed like people would run across these things kind of frequently, and then all of a sudden they died off or disappeared or left or whatever? Or is it just like spattered throughout the history, but no real trend of they are there? You know what I'm saying? Like here, we know, like in Washington State and Pacific Northwest, they're definitely there. In Ohio, they're definitely there. Was it like that in the UK, and then all of a sudden it stopped? Or they just kind of speckled throughout there? So, Amy, do you live in an area where you suspect that there are Bigfoot? Or do you no longer live there? Because I think you said when you were a kid that you had that, you were in that situation where you thought there was one around. Or are you in an area now where there's some dense forest around you? Idaho, I'm trying to think. I think Idaho, Bigfoot, Finding Bigfoot went there and they found activity or reports anyway. Crypto, I haven't heard the Bigfoot since the last time I heard it was I think the first week in June, and then all of a sudden it stopped and I haven't heard it since. So I'm waiting to see if it's going to come back through now that the weather it's cooling off. Yeah, that makes sense, Leon. Yeah, I could see that. So, well, Amy, would you go out in the forest looking for Bigfoot, or would that scare the hell out of you and you could never do it? Adam, what 2 states are you talking about? Oh, by the way, people, in case you didn't catch the very beginning, I also do shows on Twitch, and right now I'm trying to figure out how to simulcast, so I'm on YouTube and Twitch at the same time, doing live shows at the same time. I've got 2 different cameras, so just in case, and on Twitch, just look for AP Jones Media. It'll be twitch.tv/AP Jones Media. Really, what part of Virginia, Adam? Amy, you say you're always packing. Is that a picnic basket with mushrooms, or? I know you mean you carry again. What kind you carry anyway? Crypto. Yeah. What is that? The George on Seinfeld when he pushed the old lady out of the way? Fire! That's funny. By the way, people, can you hear the music that I've got going in the background, or is it being cut out by my noise gate? 12 gauge. Oh, you're a badass. You 3-incher. You know what you need to do? Go get the Brennecke Black Magic Magnums. I got those and started target shooting with those to get ready to go looking for Sasquatch, because I think a Black Magic Magnum will put a hurt on a Sasquatch, especially if you shoot him in the knees. Knees, throat, probably the temple. Black Magic Magnum will take down a bear, so it might even kill a Bigfoot if you hit him in the right spot. It's a Brennecke Black Magic Magnum. I've heard people talk about Bigfoots running 45, 50 miles an hour because they ran along the side of a car going that fast. Yeah, I saw my Bigfoot in Lee County, Virginia, which is down by Cumberland Gap in the corner in Lee County. Did I say Lee County? I think I did. Yeah, the Brenneckes, if you're not used to shooting high brass, you really got to hold that stock in your shoulder, because them things, they've got a kick. That's some powerful stuff. They have I think their muzzle velocity, if I remember right, is 2,300 feet per second. I mean, it's for a 12 gauge, it's cooking. And they have almost a 3-ounce slug, I think. If I remember right, I haven't looked at the specs in a couple of years. Yeah, Bigfoots will launch anything, including dogs, cats, goats. They pick up anything and throw it. Adam, I've heard of people doing 45, 55 miles an hour and a Bigfoot being right there. Now, that might just have been one special Bigfoot. I mean, like humans, we got humans that can run pretty fast and humans that don't. So, Bigfoot, I'm sure, are the same way. So, anywhere from 40 to 55 is what I've heard. I mean, well, up to 55 is the fastest I've heard. Oh, anyway, Amy, so you're willing to go out. You carry a 12 gauge. How old are you? Because if you're like 75, I don't want to send you out there. Oh, God. See, as far as Bigfoot's using weapons, I suspect, and this is just my opinion, my gut feeling, a suspicion, that Bigfoot used tools. I really think they do. I think it's just, when they're, scientists like Meldrum and them say, oh, Bigfoot don't use tools. How do you know? Unless you actually find their campsite and find out if they're using tools. Just because people see them in the forest and they don't have tools, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, if I'm walking down the street, I'm not carrying, a screw gun and a hammer, So when somebody drives by, they go, oh, that poor man, he doesn't use tools. He's a primitive, Bigfoot's the same way. When they're out, they're not carrying their toolbox with them. They're tools that they would use, like anything to cut. I don't think they need stuff to cut meat because they just rip it apart. But anything that they might use tools for, they're not going to carry them with them. You know what I'm saying? Well, at 64, I mean, if you're still hiking a lot, I mean, you would have to be the judge of it. But, I would say, I mean, look at Bindernagel. What was he? I think he was 78, I think, when he died. And he was still out in the forest. If you're 70, 75, yeah, I would probably feel a little guilty trying to say, hey, go out there looking for a Bigfoot. But at your age, I mean, I'm 53. I had to think about it. I'm 53. I'm only 10 years younger than you, and I could see myself in 10, well, except for the MS, I could see myself in 10 years if I'm like I am now, or like I think I will be in a year. I could see myself still doing it in 10 years. So it's really up to you. I mean, if you think that you could do it, I mean, if you're firing a 12 gauge at 64, I mean, you probably pretty tough still. What new setup? Engaging gadgets. What new setup are you talking about? If I kill a Bigfoot, I don't think the government's going to have a chance to take it from me. Because this is going to sound disgusting or rude or whatever, but if I shoot a Bigfoot, a male Bigfoot, I'm going to cut off his balls, and I'm putting it in an igloo cooler and I'm taking it to a college, a scientist, and I'm going to say, all right, take a little piece and go on to another one, and I'm going to take pictures and all that stuff and keep it, and then when I have all that evidence together, I'm sending it out on the internet to so many different places, the government would never be able to stop it. Oh, the screen behind me, yeah. I actually got that TV and I got that rack stand and everything like that for this purpose so that I could have it behind me and like if I need to show anything back there and that kind of stuff. Kind of like the old news shows where they had the kind of like that. Yeah. But it's also my TV. What is what? Crypto, what is what? Oh, Amy, you misunderstand. I mean, I would like to hear you talk about investigations you've done, but really my purpose is to get kind of like a co-host, somebody who can talk back and forth. But the reason I'm asking is so that to see how how knowledgeable you might be about out in the woods and looking for stuff, so that you have an opinion about something. You know what I'm saying? If we're talking to people, you have an opinion, you have ideas about what they're talking about, you know, that kind of thing. I'm just trying to get a feel for. I actually was talking to that girl in Manhattan to co-host with me, but she's a chicken shit. She talked with me on the phone for hours. I mean, literally hours. But then I'd say, well, let's go on the show. And oh, no. I don't understand why. But I said, well, you don't have to be on camera. Just talk. No. Well, I guess some people are like that. I think some people who have Bigfoot encounters but don't want to go on, do an interview. I've had people say that to me. It's the same thing. They just don't want to. They have some kind of phobia about, I guess, public speaking. Let who know what who's testing? Are you talking to me or somebody else? The best evidence I've ever seen? The one looking through the window at me was the best evidence I've ever seen. You haven't watched my shows, have you, there, Gauging It? I've seen one from 5 feet away looking through the window at me. That was the best evidence I've ever seen. Now, if you want to know, what is it, academically, in general, whatever, out in the world, that evidence, the best of that evidence I've ever seen, it would be the Patterson-Gimlin film, and the 3 films I'm actually going to do a show on, and I'm actually going to, you know, put them up there and explain why I think that they're the best evidence. All right, Gating, yeah. I kind of figured you had, but I didn't understand why you were asking. I think it was just you weren't thinking of the way you worded it, I guess. You must be talking about, like what I said, out in the world, the best evidence. Yeah, that would be the Patterson-Gimlin film. There's 3 other films. There's one called Mountain Devil, which if you have an Amazon Prime account, do a search for Mountain Devil, at the very end of that film, it's all about the guy who took the film. And it's really a pretty interesting show. At the very end, I mean, it's not very much, but that's a real Bigfoot that they filmed at the very end. Because it looks just like the one I saw. The one that's right there. Except looks younger, maybe. Yeah, Mountain Devil was really, that's guaranteed a real Bigfoot. Guaranteed. It's the only film I saw, in the second I saw it, I said that's a real Bigfoot. Because I've seen them. And they have actually the face. So I knew instantly it was real. And then when you think about it, and I'm going to go over this in the show I'm going to do, but these guys did this film, I think it was in 72? Somewhere early 70s, I think. It might have been late 60s, but I think it was early 70s. And they're two rednecks, just local yokels that were out hunting, and nobody special, but there's no way that they could have hoaxed it, because it would be like trying to hoax Patty and being nobody. There's no way these guys hoaxed it. And it's the most accurate footage of a Bigfoot I've ever seen, other than the Patterson-Gimlin film. But the Patterson-Gimlin film, I didn't see the face, or could not see the face well enough to make a determination. In that film, I could. I knew instantly. Oh, I got you now. I skipped around so much I forgot what I said earlier. You're talking about when I cut its balls off? Yeah. Well, see, I'm assuming that I'll have enough material because I'm sure that there's a sizable package there. Holy smokes, I didn't realize it was that late. The sun's coming up. That I would have enough material to where I could do both, kind of like a control. But I also want to have somebody test that knows what they're testing, and might like do a better job or look at it in a different way because they know what it is. Speak of the devil, there are the birds. Can you hear those? Wow. That one is really going to town. He's really loud. The Paul Freeman film, see, I'm on the fence about that one. To me, that one looks fake. Because there's something I talk about in my episode about why Patterson-Gimlin film is real. And in the Paul Freeman film, I don't see any of it. Like in the Paul Freeman film, when it's walking, the one thing that really bothers me is that it looks at him and then it looks down at the ground when it takes a step. Then it looks at him and it looks down at, I think it did it twice, but it's looking down at the ground when it's taking a step. The Patterson-Gimlin film, it never looks down. And what I said in my video is that when we're kids and we're wearing masks for Halloween, you have to look down at the ground when you're walking, when you're going off a curb or on a curb, because as close as those little holes are to your eyes, if you just look down, you can't see because the plastic's right here. Now the mask for a Bigfoot costume is going to be much more massive, so you would have to look down to make sure you don't fall on something, and that's what it looks like that thing's doing in the Paul Freeman film. Now granted, it could just be that Bigfoot is looking down when it's walking. That could be the case. But the way it looks down like that, every time it took a step, it makes me very suspicious. Does that make sense? Did y'all unsubscribe when I said that? Because I'm kind of knocking the Freeman film. The only reason I wouldn't sit here and say the Freeman film absolutely is fake, is because Jeff Mildrum went out there and he looked at the tracks, the trackway that individual supposedly left, and said it was the best. It's what convinced him that Bigfoot was real. And he described how there was drag out and variations in the toes where the position was as it walked. That's the only reason that I'm on the fence about the individual in the video. Amy missed what episode of what? Episode was I talking about finding Bigfoot? Yeah, I think I was, but I don't remember what I said. It's the MS, short-term memory. Remind me what episode, unless you're talking to somebody else. Yeah, that's a good point, Gadget. Is that kind of, I guess, because he's so far away, and the guy's old and fat. There's no way he's gonna move very fast. The Bigfoot might realize that he would hear him coming and have plenty of time to react. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a good point, but it could be explained away as well. You know what I mean? Oh, the looking down business? Yeah, it was in my Patterson Gimlin thing. Did you ask me what episode it was? Is that what you asked? See, I forgot what I was just asking you about. This friggin' MS. It's between the MS and the medication they have me on. My memory is like Swiss cheese now. Where the hell's my mouse? Oh, there it is. Let me look, and if you're referring to them looking. Yeah. Yeah. Looking down, yeah. I talked about that in my video. Yes. I just, like I said, the MS messes with my memory and stuff. And evidently it messed it up pretty bad, because I've had it since I was in my 20s. Because I can remember back in some of the symptoms I have now, I remember having back then, as far back as then, just not as severe. But I never knew what it was. Until now. But it pretty much, they said MS strips away a lining in your, is it amygdala? It's the little piece right in the center of your brain. And you can tell, I guess, how bad it is by how much it, and the neurologist said mine's almost completely gone, so I guess I'm lucky I'm still speaking. So I thought that was a fairly recent one. Where the hell was it? Where the heck is it? I can't see your chat if you're chatting to me right now. I'm trying to find that episode. Okay, maybe it was back on the other page. Oh, it was right there in front of me. Episode 6. So if you, that's what you were, if you were asking me that, because I don't remember what the question was, then it's episode 6. If not, well, I told you anyway. Yeah, I am tired, that too. But that just makes it worse. But I usually stay up anyway because I have to sleep until like noon, 1 o'clock, because tonight I'm going to drive the drunks home again. Get rid of what? Mucus? Crypto. Dude. Yeah, it's good. I've actually watched it several times because it's not like History Channel, but I thought it was very well done, and the interviews were well done, and they had a lot of good stuff to say, and then they had that video at the end. I thought it was very good. One of the best ones I've ever seen, really. Actually, it's the best documentary I've ever seen about Bigfoot. Well, about a Bigfoot topic, because not about Bigfoot, but, you know. Lyft and Uber. I drive for both. All right, see you, crypto. All right, been on for 2 hours. If anyone's got any burning question, go ahead and hit me up. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and call it quits for the night, and or for the morning, the day, and have me another cup of coffee and then go to sleep. They also said that I have ADHD, so coffee actually helps my mind relax so that I can sleep, which is weird, right? But that's why they give you Ritalin at speed, which actually slows you down. It's crazy. All right, then. Y'all take it easy. I think probably tonight about 8 o'clock. I'm going, unless something happens during the day that throws me off, I'm going to try to, tonight at 8 o'clock, do a show where those 3 documentaries, where I discuss what about them I think makes them compelling. And I'll try to do that. I'm going to do that tonight at 8 unless something stops me from being able to do it. So until then, y'all take care.